Hello, this is Mrs. Tarangelo with the Citizenship Academy. We're on Domain 5, Lesson 18, Writing Informational Text Editing for Conventions. Our objectives for today are to edit our informational piece using the conventions of standard English capitalization, punctuation, and spelling. So you're going to be working in the editing stage of the writing process. So we're going to be looking for things that are a little bit more in detail. Now, these are what we would see are examples of how we would format our biography. Now, word process means if you're using your computer, which you should be, this is how you're going to format it. Now, if you do choose to handwrite it, make sure you're still able to send it to your teacher. So I would recommend having it word process. It's a little bit clearer to read. But how we want it formatted is we want obviously the title in the top middle. Then we have our first heading with our diary entry. So the first part of your biography is the diary entry. We wanted that blurb. I showed you my example previously. That's your first paragraph. And we want you to come up with a creative heading for it as well. Now, the second one is early years. Remember, that's not necessarily going to be your heading. If you came up with a more creative one, absolutely we want to see that. That's going to be your second one. And then you're going to put the paragraph you've already written about early years. Now here, you're going to be using headings for projects and accomplishments. Again, you should have already had a creative one written. That's what you're going to put here. And then you're going to put your paragraph that you wrote. And what made him great. If you, again, came up with a different heading, that's great. And then your paragraph there. Your references. Remember, you should have at least had 2 references written. This is the format that they would be in. So this, the patrons, artists, and scholars, 2014, artist name, second source. So what that means is that's where you're pulling your other article that you pulled from somewhere else. Okay, so this is the way, if I was given a copy of this, this is what it should look like. Now remember, if you do choose to handwrite it, this is the same format. If you look, it's almost exactly the same. The only difference is making sure you can get it to your teacher, because you can take a picture of it or you can scan it and send it to them, however you want to do it. But this is the format we want to see. So your titles are set on their own lines. So notice how those are not part of the paragraphs you've written. They stand out separately. That's what that means. Your headings are also set on your own lines and left justified, meaning they are all the way over against the margin. Now you'll notice with our first paragraph is always indented. So your heading should be all the way over to the other end of your page, and then you should always start your paragraph with an indentation, just like we have talked. And then titles and headings are bold, making sure those stand out. And remember, you have your sources list at the bottom. Now, when we mean underline or things like that, we want these italicized if they're on the computer, but we want them underlined if you're handwriting them. That's what we're talking about. So if you're choosing to word process or type your biography, you're going to use italics. If you're not, you're going to underline it. This is your checklist. This is going to be super helpful so you know that you make sure you have everything you need to include. Now, if there is a partner column, I would recommend that if you would like to share your piece with someone else before you do a final copy of it, that would be very, very powerful. And your partner can then look for things that you might have missed out on and give you check marks to let you know that you've completed it. So as you read through and make sure you've made your edits, you're going to check off what you've completed. And then again, I would recommend, it could be a family member, anybody, someone else to read it to see if you made sure you have everything in it that you're supposed to. It's going to make your writing a lot more powerful. And we will see everyone in the next lesson.